Hey, I'm Russ Murphy with Indiana Avenue Baptist Church with your daily devotional. This is part 2 of a story I started yesterday called Ain't Nothing Wrong With That. I was getting a sound check in Kentucky for a concert, and a lady came in, an older lady in a walker. She asked me a bunch of questions, and the Lord just told me to listen to her story. But I thought she was mad at me. She just had that kind of scowl on her face, and I thought, I think I'm fixed to be slapped or hit by an 80-year-old woman, but she stayed for the full concert because she said she couldn't stay for any of it. She stayed for the full concert. And she said, I got to talk to you. So I went back to our CD table and just stood there and talked to people, and she waited right behind me. And after we got through, she came and put the walker right in front of me. And she said, look at me. And I said, okay. She said, look into my eyes. And when I did, these tears started to pour down her face. During the concert, I talked about my grandparents, my grandmother, how they shaped my life. And she said, I think the Lord had me here tonight just to hear you talk about your grandparents. And she said, she said, I've got 4 grandkids. Do you think that God could use me in my grandkids' life to touch them the way your grandmother touched you? I said, oh my goodness, that's for sure. Because you love them and they love you, and you could be the biggest spiritual influence in their entire life. And as she wiped away her tears, she got ready to walk out the door. And she said, for the first time in years, I'm going to walk out this door where I feel like God still has a plan for me. He can still use me, and that I'm worth something. And I kind of chuckled inside and said, well, ain't nothing wrong with that. You know, a year later, I came back to that same church, and she brought all 4 of her grandkids who had been saved. She led all 4 to Christ. And they were so happy. She was so happy. And she said, my son's here tonight. He was in his 50s. And she said, he's not saved, but he plays harmonica. And you think you could work him in on a song? I said, his name was Gary. I said, well, sure. And Gary and I met for a second. And I said, what key is your harmonica? He said, it's a key of G. I said, do you know Amazing Grace? He said, I sure do. And so the very last song that night, Gary and I, he played and I sang Amazing Grace. And that night, Gary received Christ as his Lord and Savior. So here, 1 year earlier, here's a woman who was thinking that God had no plan for her, no use for her, because now she was 80 years old and she was not able to do the things she used to do. But she went home, and during that year, led all 4 of her grandkids to Christ, brought her son that next year, and here's Gary, and he was saved that very night. And I want to tell you, folks, it doesn't matter how old you are. You can be young or old or somewhere in between. But God has a plan for you and can use you no matter where you are, who you are, to touch somebody else's life. So today, go out and do that, because you are so valuable to the Lord. You have a great day.